Hi, second graders. So today, the first thing you're gonna do is finish up forming the basic shape of your mythical creature. After you have done that and you have erased any guidelines that you have with your big erasers, then you're going to make sure that you outline. Now, in addition to the charcoal pencils that we spoke about, I also will have the option of a thicker white chalk if you wanted to use, because if you see over here for my unicorn, or my Pegasus unicorn, it's a little bit easier to outline with this. It doesn't require sharpening, and you could get a nice thick line. So if you really wanted white, I would recommend using the white chalk. After you have everything outlined nice and thick, then you're gonna move on to adding your implied texture or your visual texture. This is where you're gonna wanna really look at your worksheet. You should be able to put in 6 of these. If you change your mind and you decide that maybe one of them doesn't work well then take a look at your worksheet that also shows you all different examples. But you should be able to include 4 to 6 different textures, no less than 4, and more than 6 might be a little too much. So between 4 and 6. Now, in addition to adding the different textures, I want to show you something else that you could do that's really nice with these charcoal pencils. So I'm just going to zoom into the horn. You could make something look shiny by doing what we call blending. So I could, let me lower this down a little bit. So I could use the tip. If it's not sharp, we're gonna use a handheld sharpener. We don't stick these in the pencil sharpener. And I can kind of just color around the edge a little bit harder. And then as I get towards the center, I don't press as hard. Then I press harder. And then I can even take my finger and I can just kind of blend it in there a tiny bit. That gives a really nice three-dimensional look to the horn or to any part. It could be good on like the hoof or a beak of something. You could also add in a little bit of that black if you wanted to blend the 2 colors together. And then I'm pressing darker on the edges. I'm using the side for this, the side of my charcoal pencil. And then I'm going over this really lightly because I want the inside to be lighter. So that's how we can add a little bit of like a shininess to it. And it also makes it look a little bit more 3-dimensional. That's called shading and changing the pressure of how we color. Now, in other spots, when we're doing the patterns, you have a few different ways you can do this. You could stick with one color, you can do one color, and then you can do another color over it, or you can kind of divide it up. So for my wing right here, I'm gonna start with black, and I might do this kind of texture in the wing. This might be all you get done today. No one will be finishing today. We're taking our time and we're building up. So I did add a texture here. I tried to do the smooth texture here. After I did this kind of texture, I added in a little bit of some fun stuff with the white, really taking our time and slowly building up. Now I'm gonna show you some different textures that maybe I can add to my griffin. I might wanna do that blending on the beak. And I might have some other scaly textures that I can pull from for the spot that I stop here. Now, you will be able to use this thick one in some areas too, like I did over here, and then I used to fill in. One last thing, when you're working, be careful that you're not smudging as you're drawing. You wanna lift up your wrist so that when you're drawing, your hand isn't smudging all the beautiful lines that you just made. At the end of class, we'll be able to clean our hands and put all of our supplies back. Then we will have one last class to finish adding more of the texture. Have fun.